Alright, so another video here about the Royals. Thank you for watching. Today we want to talk about Bubba Starling. And obviously the Royals 25 games under 500 here on June 11th. The Royals are going nowhere fast. They're a lot worse than I thought they would be. So I'm big enough to admit when I was wrong. I didn't anticipate Salvi getting hurt when I made my prediction, but part of me was also thinking that some of these guys would just take a step forwards. And I was right about Dozier. I was right about Mondesi and Merrifield. But Ryan O'Hearn taking a big step back, and the pitching staff taking a huge step back. The pitching staff has really been where it is. The Royals' offense has been okay. I mean, hasn't been very good lately, but I mean, if the pitching would have just been a little better, the offense could be at least passable, even with the absolute black holes at the bottom of the lineup. So let's address one of those black holes. So Billy Hamilton, who adds 0 on offense, and his defense is very highly overrated. Billy Hamilton, I think the Royals would love to trade him right now, and I think they're trying to find anybody and everybody who could just trade him for maybe a prospect or cash. I don't think the Royals are going to get anything for him because everybody had the opportunity to sign Billy Hamilton this offseason, and nobody wanted him because he's an aging player who is fast but can't get on base, and he has no power. That's a type of player that just doesn't play in this type of baseball, in this environment of home runs and strikeouts and launch angles and on-base percentage. And Billy Hamilton is the anti-2019 player. Bubba Starling is not on the 40-man roster, so obviously he would have to be put on the 40-man roster and someone would be taken off. I think the decision is simple here for Dayton Moore. If you can't find a trade partner for Hamilton, if you think you can trade him, then you could send down, you could send Nicky Lopez back down if you wanted to hold out hope that you could trade Hamilton. You could send Lopez back down. You could DFA any number of pitchers, Ben Lively or someone like that, Connor Green. Any of these guys could be DFA'd, and then you could put Bubba Starling on the 40-man roster and then call him up and send Lopez down. And then that would put Merrifield back at second base. And then you could while Bubba Starling is the center fielder, he's a good enough defensive outfielder, he could play right field. And that's where you could put him. And you could bat him 6th or 7th every night. And go forward from there and see what you have in him. And just let him play the rest of the year. Personally, what I would do, I would keep Nicky Lopez up. I wouldn't even bother trading Hamilton because you're not going to get anything for him anyway. So just take him off the DFA, and give him his and release him. Put him on irrevocable waivers for the purpose of giving him his release. And I think that's what the Royals need to do. Billy Hamilton, obviously, I would say like the Billy Hamilton experiment failed, but I don't think it was a quote-unquote an experiment. I'm not sure what Dayton Moore was seeing in this guy. Well, I know what they were seeing. They wanted to get back to a team that could steal like 200 bases, but look, you can't steal bases if you can't get on base. Oh. I don't know. I guess I'm just cursed to always cheer for a team that doesn't value on-base percentage. And I don't know why as an organization the Royals are so on-base percentage adverse. It's like they don't want to admit that Billy Beane was right. I'm not saying that Billy Beane is the end-all be-all of general managers and that he knows everything. I mean, he hasn't won a World Series, and Dayton Moore has. But Bubba Starling is hitting over 350 in AAA. He's hitting home runs. It's June 11th, and he already has 8 outfield assists. It's time. It's time to bring him up. The Royals are 25 games under 500. What harm is it going to do to bat Billy Hamilton? It's not going to do any harm. Next thing, so I would call him up and I would cut Hamilton, release him, let him go, and put Bubba in center field and see what he can do. The next thing I would do with the Royals is I would continue to overhaul the pitching staff. You've got to get rid of the dead weight. You got to get rid of the veterans that just add zero value. Willie Peralta of the world. And I was actually in favor of re-signing Peralta. I thought it was because he pitched pretty well last year for the Royals after Herrera was traded. But he's been a disaster this year. Brian Boxberger's been a disaster. And I said, several months ago that I wouldn't cut bait with Boxberger because he's shown in the past he has the ability to get guys out. But I would just go ahead and just let him go. Mainly because Josh Stalmont, Kyle Zimmer, these guys need to be on the Major League roster. And something that Omaha is doing that's really interesting right now, and I've talked about this in the past about, I think the Royals really should look at doing an opener. So if you're not familiar with the term, an opener is essentially like using a closer, but at the beginning of the game. So you bring a guy out there to pitch an inning or possibly 2 innings, and he goes max effort, and then you bring in your quote-unquote starter in like the 3rd inning, like Brad Keller or Jake Junis, and then they pitch through the lineup twice when the history shows that you always pitch well, not always, but the first time through the lineup, usually the pitcher has the advantage. As the more times through the lineup, the more times the lineup turns over, the hitter has the advantage. So the fewer times that the batters see the same pitcher, the better it is for the pitchers. And I really do think that what the Royals could be doing here, they could go with someone like Josh Stalmont to start a game, especially with there's no book on him, at least from a Major League perspective. And then what they do essentially is they get through the 1st inning, maybe get through a couple of tough batters in the 2nd inning, and then Jake Junis or Brad Keller, Danny Duffy, then they come in the 3rd. What this does is that, because and this isn't Ned Yost's fault, this is just baseball thinking in general. You're never gonna always pitch perfect innings unless you pitch a perfect game completely through. But let's take Jake Junis for example. Junis, by and large, pitches pretty well. He always has one bad inning, and it's typically later in the game when he's facing the team for the 3rd time, sometimes even the 4th time. What you do is you take that out of the manager's repertoire to even come across. I mean, by the time Jake Junis is going through the lineup for the 3rd time, it might be the 9th inning, the 8th or 9th inning, and the Royals could possibly have a lead. It's just a different way of managing the games. You're putting your stopper guys, your middle relief, your shutdown guys, not necessarily your closer, but you're putting your shutdown guys in the middle. So think back to, if you're a Royals fan, think back to 2015. Before Greg Holland gets hurt. Essentially what you'd be doing is you'd be putting Kelvin Herrera or Wade Davis or Ryan Madsen or even Luke Hochevar, one of those guys, or maybe 2 of them, you designate 2 of them as openers and 2 of them still as 7th and 8th guys. So if you still wanted Herrera and Davis at the back end, you could have Madsen and Hochevar in the first 2 innings, or they're your openers and you go to your starter. The Royals won a World Series anyway without doing this. Can you imagine what that team would look like if the way that Hochevar and Madsen pitched all year, if they're pitching in the 1st inning and then possibly even in the 2nd inning going max effort? And then Edinson Volquez comes in. And then Johnny Cueto comes in. I mean, this old school thinking that you have to have a guy that eats innings and goes at least 6 innings for a quality start and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying it's the wrong, I'm not saying it's the old way of thinking is wrong. But I applaud guys that are doing things a little differently and that are looking to think outside the box. And I think that with the Royals at 25 games under 500, I think it's definitely time to try some different things, and let's see what we can do with it. Let's see if we can not find lightning in a bottle, essentially, but let's see if we can, find something that is different and that would work for us. Something that would add a little excitement to the games. So what do you think? Let's call up Starling and start using an opener with the pitchers. I would bring up Zimmer and Stalmont and Starling right away, and of course I have to look at who to take off the roster and whatnot. But again, Starling's decision is easy. I would just get rid of Billy Hamilton completely, be done with it, and move on. So that's what I believe about that. So thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day.